How's it going, guys? So it's crazy to think about that the NFL playoffs are about to start this weekend, and unfortunately for us, it is the off season, and it's a lot earlier than we're probably used to, especially since we've pretty much consistently made the playoffs. And after such a good run, and it ending at home against the Detroit Lions, and where we just had to win after a ton of luck around the league, getting help, winning the last 4 or 5 games, and we just need to win. Our season comes to an abrupt halt. And of course, now our off season starts with questions if Aaron Rodgers and what's going to happen. Because I believe it kind of all starts with him. He's the face of the franchise. He's our quarterback of, well, the past and hopefully the present, because I would like him to return for another season. But after watching the end of that game, you could tell the NFL knew that there's potentially this could have been his last home game. And I think Aaron Rodgers didn't know what the future held. Like, you could see him soaking it in. Like, yes, they lost, but he was soaking in the atmosphere and the fans and the lights and the stadium, being next to his best friend, Randall Cobb, and it just holding close, slightly pushing the cameraman to the side after he kind of got in his face a few minutes later when they're about to enter the tunnel. And him just pulling Randall Cobb close again. It was a sad and somber scene. And of course, Bach is shortly right behind them. So you could tell that there is no guarantee that he could return next year. And with that, of course, came a lot of questions about, is he going to return, or what could potentially occur during the offseason with Rodgers? Is this the last time we see Aaron Rodgers in a Green Bay uniform? So he was asked a lot of questions about it, and he said it's a feeling, and he did promise that he wouldn't drag it out. We'll see how far he'll drag it out, because I remember he did say that a couple years ago with his contract and beef with the front office that he would not drag it out, and he got dragged out just a smidge longer than I expected. And he also said there's a lot of questions he has to ask himself. Does he feel like he has anything left to prove? Does he want to go back up and gear up for another grind? Or is it time? Is it time to step away? Is it time for another voice to be leading this team? Probably meaning Jordan Love in that scenario. And Aaron Rodgers also stated that he thinks he needs to get away and contemplate those things. Those are real to me. I have a lot of pride in what I've accomplished in this league, but I'm also a realist, and I understand where we're at as a team. We're a young team. There could be some changes with some of the older guys, and it could be time to step away. But I could take some time and say, hell no, man. I need to get back out there and go on another run. But I'll have to see what it feels like once I'm away from it. Now, of course, the older guys he's mainly referencing to is Randall Cobb, David Bakhtiari, Mercedes Lewis, and Mason Crosby, as those are the most veteran players on the team, and all of them, except for Bakhtiari, have expiring contracts. And unfortunately, I don't think everyone's going to come back, nor should they, really. Randall Cobb, as much of a security blanket as he was for Aaron Rodgers, he's not the same player. Of course, he's not going to be. He's like 33, but he's not the same player he used to be, and he could end up retiring for all we know. David Bakhtiari is probably going to stay on the team. They might restructure his contract or convert his contract for the year to a signing bonus to relieve some cap space for the team, because we are in severe cap hell. So that might happen. Mason Crosby is a bit of an iffy one. Yes, he's consistent. Does he have the strong leg anymore? No, he could barely make it from 50 plus, but there's a consistency there. So it's hard to say on that one, especially since we've seen kickers they're kind of a dime a dozen sometimes. And then Mercedes Lewis, I could see him come back, especially for maybe a veteran minimum or a very low costing contract. Yes, he's going to turn 39, but can he run block? Heck yeah. So he still is a good presence on this team, especially if he's not going to be signed for a lot of money. But that also really depends on Aaron Rodgers and what he possibly decides. Moving on to later in the press conference, Rodgers also stated that he thinks that there's a lot of good young talent on the team, and if certain guys make the jumps from year 1 to 2, this offense could look a lot different. And it sounds like he does believe in this team and the young players on this team. We even saw it throughout this season. Christian Watson started off the season without a catch, or dropping essentially his first deep ball against the Vikings. And then it took him about a few weeks. Granted, he was injured, and of course, he had the injury during training camp, so it might have taken him a while to get under the wing of where Aaron Rodgers is looking in the playbook. But come like week 9, dude was a stud. Romeo Doubs had some really good flashes, especially in the beginning of the season. It seems like they slightly switched places, but he showed a lot of good flashes. And if he gets on the same page more with Rodgers, if Rodgers comes back, then he could be a really good threat, especially at the number 2. Samori Toure also showed some flashes. So there are really good young pieces on this team. And it's nice to see that Rodgers sees that. And of course he would see it, but it's nice that he actually expressed it and said, hey, they make the jump, this offense could look a lot different, and it could be explosive to what we were hoping for this year. But in the end, he did state that the feelings are a little bit raw. These questions are being asked to him right after the loss to the Detroit Lions, and where it pretty much ended their playoff hopes. So, yes, these are very hard questions, especially right after a loss. And it's good that he's not making a gut decision or like an in the moment decision. As he shouldn't. He should take some time away and figure out where he's at mentally and how he feels once this loss kind of processes. Because this was a huge loss. Like, the postseason was on the line and it was a rough game and we lost. And then after that, if he decides he possibly wants to come back, he also stated that he wants to make sure it's a mutual decision between him and the organization. He wasn't going to hold him hostage, and if he was coming back, the organization would also want him back, and if not, then he might retire or potentially play for another team. But he's clearly stated he doesn't want to play for another team. But it sounds like it has been mutually decided that, hey, we want you back, I want to come back, you're the quarterback. Because we don't really know what happens behind the scenes. We don't know what the organization's really thinking, if they want Jordan Love to start playing, because he's going into year 4 and we don't know anything of him. Yeah, he played in a game or two and he looked like there was some potential. He had some good passes, but it's just a game or two. We don't really know what to make of Jordan Love. So personally, I would like Rodgers to come back. Yes, this season was very tough. Yes, he kind of reverted back to hero ball, and there's a bit of drama this year, especially with the offense and what's going on. Is Aaron Rodgers checking out of all these run plays that pass? There's a lot of drama, but at the end of the day, I still think Rodgers gives us the best chance to win the whole thing, especially on this team as of right now. Give Jordan Love another year to get acclimated to the offense, the NFL, because he was drafted as a raw talent. So it's going to take them a little bit longer. Should he have already played in most scenarios? Yes, but I'm fine with taking the slightly longer approach, especially if Aaron Rodgers is going to come back next year for one final year. But it sounds like we're going to have a long offseason again where Aaron Rodgers is at the center of it, and it makes sense. He's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play this game, and his future is unknown. So let me know what you think down in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel, and as always, go Pack Go.